G'day guys, Ron here from Osborne Digital Marketing. Today I have Matt Zimmerman, the founder of Zimmwriter. Today we're going to cover everything about Zimmwriter. We're going to talk about Matty and his past career in the digital marketing space and how he got into developing this wicked tool that we all use. And we're going to cover how AI content is actually going to play a role in the future and how you can maximize Zimmwriter, use that beautiful tool to help ensure you get better SEO results. How you doing, Matty?
Pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, brother. Not too bad, man. It's very nice having a chat with you just before. So I'm looking forward to this. I've honestly been very excited about this interview. I've had a lot of chats with the lads about this because everyone I know is using your tool. So I'm very excited to jump
That's
into
awesome.
it. So, brother, the floor is yours. How did you get into this game? How did you start playing SEO? How did you develop Zimmwriter? What happened? Give us the backstory.
Well, all of us, we all go to SEO school. That's what we do, right? We go to university for SEO, and no, I think we all have really unique stories about how we get started, and mine's just as unique as everybody else's. I think my buddies back in the day had told me about this. I think they told me about AdWords and stuff like that. They're like, "Hey, come learn about this AdWords stuff." And I'm like, "Nah, you're making money online. Who does that? That's for the birds." But eventually, after I had my full-time job for a while, I started to think, I'd like to create something. I'd like to, I can't have a baby, my wife can do that, so she can create something, but I want to create something myself. And I started looking more into this SEO and what that is and creating websites and whatnot. And I actually started by just creating a website. And I said, people don't, they'll just come to my website. I don't need SEO. I don't even know what SEO is, but people just come to my website to listen to what I have to say. And that was a good 6 months wasted in my life because, people don't care what you say. The algorithm cares if you have the right stuff. And if you have the right stuff for the algorithm, they'll put you in front of people. And then if people like what you have, then you're promoted, So that took a couple of years of figuring out, how to do that. And couple affiliate sites later, couple, different projects later, I had kind of a good foundation built up. And a lot of it got built up from listening to podcasts. I love mowing the lawn and just like decompressing for a couple hours. So I'd put on some podcasts and I'd listen to like Authority Hacker. I love Mark and Gail, great guys to listen to. And there's some other podcasts that have come and gone. But that's a great way to just digest more information, each week and kind of build up your knowledge repository, But as I built that foundation, I eventually started to expand in what I was doing. There was a tool called Phrase that came along, and it's, in my opinion, one of the best tools for creating content that's going to rank. It's not fast like Zimmwriter, but it allows you to go more slowly and methodically. It's kind of like Surfer. It's kind of like some of these other SEO writing tools out there, Market Muse and whatnot. And they added an AI component in there. And so I said, well, it'd be kind of cool if I made some training videos on this, how to work with the AI and whatnot. And the AI that they used was a very, it's called GPT-J. So it's like almost like GPT-2, it's before OpenAI. So it's not as powerful, not as knowledgeable. And I really cut my teeth on that. I spent like 300 hours you'd have to make templates with that. You can't just prompt and say, write 5 paragraphs about this topic. It wouldn't do a very good job. So you'd have to really cut your teeth on learning the intricacies. It's almost like trying to learn how to ride a unicycle when you've never ridden a bicycle before. It's really hard to do. Whereas GPT-3 is kind of like a tricycle, it's really easy to do. So I'm cutting my teeth over here, trying to ride that unicycle, learn how to do it, made a training course for Phrase, never knew how to, I was the person who was like, I'm never getting in front of a camera. Having a YouTube channel, that's not for me. I don't want to get in front of, I don't want my neighbor to know I'm on YouTube. That's just weird, And now it's like, and I don't know where you started from, but now it's just like second nature. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just hop on YouTube right now, So I created that course, and you're picking up skills, you're learning, I'm learning all these skills and whatnot. And then I started, tinkering, and that's kind of how Zimmwriter came about, So it's just picking up skills and learning more, being open to just soak in information and then find where you want to be, because everybody wants to be somewhere else, like, you know, or everybody has a favorite place that they want to be, like, and they don't know what that is. So I found that I like to help people. You know, I'm kind of personable. I like to be in front of the camera and talk with people. You know, I like that aspect of it, you know. So as we start to dabble in things and experiment, we find out what our true niche really is, our personal niche, so to speak, you know.
And that brought you to Zimwriter. That's where you decided to create a AI content production tool. That's an
Well,
interesting journey, my friend.
yeah, well, you know, in some respects it's true. Like, so I don't like, I don't know, you could say, like, I'm kind of particular about certain things. So I would never like using a particular AI interface. Like, I had all these different AI tools on Lifetime Deal. You know, I had to write Sonic, I had copy, I don't know, something. I had all these different AI tools, you know, and all of their interfaces are a little bit different, and they're a little bit, there's restrictions over here on this particular tool. You can't do this on this particular tool. You can't do that. And it was really frustrating. And I said, you know, I wonder if I could um, just tinker around and get AI to work anywhere I want, like on my desktop computer or in any website, because then I wouldn't be constrained by the interface, you know. I let little things like that tie me down. So I started tinkering on the Mac with this scripting program called Keyboard Mastero. That's what it's called. And I was able to tap into OpenAI, which was really complex and overwhelming for me at the time, but now it's really easy. But you know, it's just that desire to just tinker with things, and even though things seem really hard, you just kind of jump into the water, jump into the deep end, and try to figure it out and kind of see where you land. So in a way, yeah, that mindset of just taking on the unknown, things you've never personally done before, led to Zimwriter.
Excellent, brother. I think it's a rite of passage to become an SEO if you've spent thousands of dollars on AppSumo and you have all those content tools. I don't think you can call yourself an SEO unless you've dropped a couple of grand on tools. So
and then also tried to figure out how are you going to explain the amount that you spent to your
yes.
spouse when you have yet to make any ROI on it, you know.
No, I'm pretty much just, I think about like what, maybe like, in all honesty, you've got probably 30 tools in there, and I think we use like 3. so yeah, I know you're preaching to the choir there, mate. That's for sure. But
you're like, this last tool, this is going to do it for me. I need this tool because it's going to solve all my problems.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm at the final stages now. I'm no longer AppSumo's number one. You know, I'm not supporting their stock, so to speak. But man, that's really, so you've really got a entrepreneurial mindset then. You really wanted to go out there and not necessarily do SEO. From the sounds of it, it really sounded like you just wanted to create a baby, which is what most entrepreneurs want to do. We don't necessarily want to just do one specific thing. We want to create something more so like a legacy that we can have left behind. So it's actually very interesting that that's your journey. That's what you've wanted to achieve. Is that the ambition for Zimmwriter and Matt Zimmerman overall? Like, do you want to keep going down the marketing path with Zimmwriter? Like, how do you see yourself in the future? Because just jumping ahead a little bit, how do you see yourself expanding on Zimmwriter? Do you want to create additional SEO tools? Do you want to create additional marketing tools? Because I'm actually really interested in that side of you too.
So I got to say this carefully, otherwise then the Mac people will get all excited and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think, especially with AI and the 2023, kind of where we are right now, learning how to program and interface with all these different platforms is an invaluable skill. Like, if you can do that, you can create something that's very successful. And so my goal is to I've created Zimwriter with one particular programming language, and my goal is to redesign it from the ground up in a new cross-platform language. And so I'm trying to do that. It's going slow right now because it's just me. I have a moderator for Facebook, but it's just me. And so I'm making YouTube videos, I'm creating Zimmwriter, I'm fielding questions, doing all the customer support, and I have a full-time job that I'm now part-time at, but that's 20 hours a week. I have a family. So it's really hard to, okay, where am I going to develop a whole new Zimmwriter from, learn the language and whatnot. So it's been really hard. I hope that in a couple updates, things will slow down because Zimmwriter will be so far developed. I can just address some quality of life things in it and then kind of shift focus to the redevelopment of from the ground up. So kind of to answer your question, Zimmwriter isn't where I want to stop, but I don't want to give Zimmwriter up. Where I think I've kind of explored the whole digital marketing area. I've done SEO, done YouTube, dabbled in a lot of stuff, and I really am captivated by like the marketing giants of the day. Ogilvy, and I'm trying to think of the other guys, right? But there's a lot of marketing guru, and they were direct to mail marketing people. I kind of got sucked into that realm by who's the ClickFunnels guy, Brunson, right?
To be honest, bro, I have no idea, man. No idea.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But there's SEO, and there's like ads, and then there's like just general marketing, and like I kind of want to be in that area a little bit, but I can't because I'm doing Zimmwriter. So I'm kind of thinking like maybe a Zimmwriter 2.0 is going to help marketing people out. Right now, Zimmwriter is mainly focused on blogging, but I think there's a lot more to marketing online than simply blogging. There's Facebook stuff, there's emails, and it can really go deep in those areas as opposed to just a general template like here's, write an email about this subject. So I'd like to take a lot of these marketing skills that I'm learning from reading and whatnot and apply them to the future of Zimmwriter, because then I want Zimmwriter to be something that and everybody can get something out of. If you're doing anything related to marketing online, you need Zimmwriter, not just for blog posts. So that's kind of where I see myself. But it's not just going to be Zimmwriter, it's going to be marketing too. So
no, that's excellent, man. Geez, that's very exciting. I think like you said, I think there's a lot of opportunity for individuals right now to jump on that side of it and really captivate a big market share. Because how long Zimwrite been around for now? About a year? Would you say a year and a bit?
January 7th.
Yeah. Yep. So and that thing just took off. Like, you've got what, 10,000 people in the Facebook group now?
10,000. Yep. Don't have 10,000 customers yet, but there's 10,400 people in the Facebook group, and we do a pretty good job. It's private, so we do a pretty good job of making sure it's not fake accounts and stuff like that. So a good chunk of that, 90% of that or 95% are legit people that want to learn AI, want to learn SEO. They might not all be Zimmwriter users, but they're interested in being in this space.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's excellent, brother. Like you've captured a big market share very, very quickly. Like I said, in our testing masterminds, you're a big focal point. I have, shown I've been able to achieve pretty good results. So I ranked #1 for carpet cleaning SEO. That's a Zim written article. Zim created that article. Now, yes, my team has tweaked it a bit, but that's still sitting at #1. And there's actually a lot of other articles, even the roofing SEO, I believe, like I'm on page 1 now for that keyword. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, some crazy keywords, man. And Zim wrote a fair bit of that structure. So a lot of the content that's within, Zim produced it. So I would say probably 75% of that article is Zim. So I'm very, very ecstatic with the results. And then obviously we've got clients that we work with and my own businesses, and those things are just all Zim, man. And they do really, really well, really well.
And you make a really good point, and I think this is lost on a lot of people. Are you seeing an ROI on that content that's on page 1?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've recouped your inexpensive investment in Zimmwriter, right?
Yep.
So and that makes my point. Like 1 or 2 pages, and you have more than that, 1 or 2 articles on page 1 is worth, 1,000 times more than 1,000 articles on page 50. And to get it to page one just requires just a little. It takes the knowledge of SEO. You need to understand SEO. You need to understand the intricacies of it. You don't have to be a master, but you need to understand it, and then it just takes that little extra something, the editing or whatnot, and you did that and you're on page one. But there's so many people who are like, I'm just going to write 1,000 blog posts. And it is possible with just AI to rank on page one if you find the right niche and you write the right articles. But in general, you'll have much better success, and you'll earn a lot more by working a little bit harder on fewer articles, but more, putting a little bit more time into them.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. Like, that is my ethos. Why would you do, like I always talk about, like, if you just use the one-click writer and all of that, which is a brilliant feature, but that's what a million other people are doing. So if you want to, there's only 10, most SERPs, there's less than 10 positions on the first page. So if you want to get on the first page, you need to do what the top 10 people are doing, which is spending the time. Yeah, running it through pop, running it through other things, looking at it, going through manually, adjusting all of the headings, creating all of that manually. It has to be. I'm still a massive advocate that if you want to sit up the top of competitive terms, you're going to have to go out there and do it manually. There is no tool yet. There is nothing out there yet. And as soon as it comes available, mate, let's be honest, we're probably all out of the job. So when that happens, yeah, it's new beginnings for us all. I have to create a Zimwriter. So, but man, like, I think you hit the nail on the head where you've definitely got to approach it uniquely. For me, like I said, I really stress on page before off page. I'm a massive advocate for getting your on page down right the first time, because then you save money on off page. It's as simple as that. When it comes to, I guess we could jump into a fair chunk here of how can people really get the most out of Zimwrite. It's like, what would you suggest to do? So for myself, we don't use the bulk feature. We don't. We will go in manually and we'll create a pop report. We'll also run entities with a custom script. We'll run that. We then place that into Zimwriter, and then we produce a single article. And then from there, it's tweaked again. That's our process when it comes to creating Zimwriter. I believe I made a YouTube video on it as well, but that is our process. If someone was to come to you and say, Matty, I want to try and rank for, let's just do a blog to begin with, then we can jump into other types of websites. How would you suggest that they actually go about creating an awesome piece of content with Zim, but then also getting it to rank and to get that return on investment, like you mentioned before?
And you're saying that you just use the SEO mainly, I suppose?
Yes.
The SEO writer?
Yep.
Okay. And that's it's a slower, more methodical approach, but you can get it very tailored to kind of what you want. It literally just depends. It depends, right? It depends on the niche that they're working in and what they're trying to do. If they are trying to rank on page one, if that's the focus of the particular article, then obviously it goes to, in my opinion, how competitive it is. And then also, where does Google see you? Is this, we've thrown this word around a lot, stay in your lane. Well, Google has implied this, especially with their most recent new blog post or whatever it is, training guidance, I suppose, where, if you're creating like a wide swath of content about different niches, you're just kind of pumping, here's a blog post about barbecue grills. Here's a blog post about washing your dog. Here's a blog post about learning SEO. You're never going to rank if that's all on one site, So your site needs a focus to begin with. And then once you have a focus, people approach this kind of two ways. Some people will create that really important pillar article first, spend the time on it, and figure that they're not going to rank for a while. And then they'll start creating supporting content to kind of build that silo and build that trust in Google's eyes that they're knowledgeable about that particular area. Other people will kind of flip that and they'll build all that supporting content first, maybe get some backlinks on the content first, and then funnel that up to then a piece that they methodically create in the SEO writer or in the bulk writer, but then obviously, if you created the bulk writer, you'd have to spend a lot more time in the editing, room editing it. But I think that's, backlinks, authority, and then competition. Those are the three things I'd focus on if I was trying to rank. There's a whole lot more too, but I'd look at those. Those are the three most important factors in my mind.
And when it comes to settings for Zimwriter, mate, have you noticed any unique things? So writing in first person, second person, third person, even, and then additional stuff like using the scraper to scrape the top results. Do you think that that is a beneficial thing that should be utilized always? Like, what are some real tips you would give with using Zimwriter to create additional in-depth sort of tips that you would give to create awesome articles that will get you up the top?
So I think there's a lot of, I think there's two answers I want to give, two separate things I want to talk about. The first is, I think there's a lot of tests that Zimmwriter makes it very, and this kind of goes to your question at the very beginning about competition. Like, what makes Zimmwriter different a little bit? Zimmwriter makes it really easy and very inexpensive to generate tons of tests that one could perform. Because right now the landscape is totally changing. Like in terms of ranking and whatnot, it's very difficult for us to say, unless you're running a lot of these tests yourself, it's difficult to say, this is exactly what you have to do. This is how you can trick the system right now or something like that to get on page one. I think there's a lot of tests to be made. And so in terms of actual settings, like, let me give you an example. Penny Arcade. It allows you to put in, if you have ScrapeAL, YouTube videos. So, as long as we're not scraping Mr. Beast or something like that, which would make no sense whatsoever. But like, let's say you have a vacuum cleaners or something like that. That's your niche. There's a lot of YouTube videos about vacuum cleaners, and I think it would be very interesting, for example, to queue up like 100 different articles or maybe 50 different articles from YouTube and generate those, but then obviously make sure that they're not, you'd have to edit them, make sure they're not using the author's, hey, I'm Bob Jones, I'm the vacuum cleaner expert, you got to edit those a little bit. But because there's a lot of nuggets in there that are from that particular expert, that Google probably doesn't know, that aren't found in the SERP, that stuff might rank really well, but you're not going to know until you run those tests. So in terms of like, tips or tricks, I think the Penny Arcade YouTube feature is probably underutilized by a lot of people. So depending on your niche, that's something I would definitely investigate. If you could, you'd have to pick, I don't know if you do it on your main domain or another domain, but that'd be a really great test to run. In terms of other like tips and tricks to using Zimmwriter, I think the bulk's a really good example where if you have a niche that the AI would know about, and it's hard, I can say, okay, the AI would know about this niche, but other people that are new to this, like, how would how do I determine if the AI knows about a particular niche or not? The AI has been trained on large corpuses of text. And so some things, some more general knowledge, they're going to know a lot more about. They're going to know a lot about SEO. They're going to know less about something very, very specific, like the iPhone 14. They're not going to know anything about the iPhone 14 because that's post 2021 stuff. But even like product specific things, they're not going to, the AI won't know that much about, So you kind of have to figure out what the AI knows. And if you feel, based on your experience, that it knows enough about the particular niche that you're blogging about, you could create, a whole little silo with bulk articles and then see if anything gets some traction. And you don't want to, got to be careful because you don't want to have too much quote unquote unhelpful content in Google's eyes, because then it can tank your whole site. But if you kind of put your feelers out there and say, okay, I'm going to do 10 articles in this particular silo and 10 over here and 10 over here, and then see what's getting traction. And then obviously if something's getting traction, you can say, okay, I'm going to rewrite the whole article in the SEO writer. I'm getting some clicks here. I put my feelers out. This seems like something that's really valuable. Let me go and completely rewrite the article and kind of see how I can take this. Maybe you end up ditching the rest of the 9 articles that you've created with the bulk writer in that silo, and you kind of I'm trying to think of an example right now, but you redo that one article with the SEO writer and you find some other similar topics that you can then branch off of in there, because that sounds to be like what Google's looking for at the time, you know?
Bro,
So
that makes a lot of sense, man. But when it comes to, you said something very interesting about how to determine if the AI knows about your niche. How does someone actually, because I've never heard of that before. I'm just like, I would probably know it all. It's scraped everything. So that's actually a great point you raise. How would someone figure that out early days? So they're not spending a lot of time, they've done a lot of content, and then all of a sudden they see that the content's not too good. How would you go about discovering if the AI knows about your niche?
it's a great question. So I think it's a lot easier if you're um if you're the type of person that wants to create 100 different websites and have 1,000 articles on each website, you know, that question's not relevant to you. But if you are trying to go slow and methodically and you have one or two websites, you know, then you can spend, and those are going to be quote unquote your babies, you know, then you can spend a little bit more time upfront doing the research and whatnot. So, in what I would do is I would first understand the niche as best as I could. I'd be that choosy into, like, as an example, I go to Walmart. I've used this example before. I go to Walmart. I'm the guy who will spend 30 minutes looking at all the different toothpaste on the shelf, and I'm like, I want toothpaste that, you know, that's going to prevent me from getting cavities and give me white teeth. And there's like ultra whitening, there's like diamond, there's like extra clean. I'm like, what do I use, you know? And so I'm trying to figure that out of my mind. You need to be that kind of person when you're creating your niche. Like when you, before you even write an article, what you need to do is you need to come up with your different, um, like, I guess, categories in that niche that would almost completely encompass that niche. So if you're going to talk about caring for a dog, all right, you'd have to think about, okay, what goes into caring for a dog? Well, first you got to get the dog. All right, where do you get the dog? Here's the different places. How do you prepare your home for a dog? You know, how do you feed your dog? How do you play with your dog? How do you train your, you know, you kind of think about everything in regards to that particular niche, and then you drill it down even further. You know, once you've drilled it down and you kind of and these aren't going to be your categories on your site, but you're just kind of creating that knowledge base that you now kind of understand the entire niche or 90% of the niche. Then when you do, then what you can do is go to the AI and start asking the AI questions. Okay, so I'm going to go get a dog, but I need to prepare my home. What are three things I need to be, you know, thoughtful of when I'm preparing my home to adopt a dog? You know, oh, it seems to know a little bit about this stuff. Let's drill, you know, it's like get gates. Okay, let's drill down a little bit. What kind of gates, what kind of factors should I be looking for in a gate for getting a new dog, you know? And as you kind of flesh this out, you say, okay, the AI really knows about this niche. And then it's a little bit safer, in my opinion, to use that bulk writer, you know. Whereas if you're talking about like disassembling a V8 engine in a Ford Mustang or something like that, you can start asking it questions, and I can almost guarantee you the AI is going to start struggling before you even get to that second layer.
So that's what you do in your spare time? Pull apart V8s and Mustangs?
I don't have any spare time.
Oh, mate, geez, if you have a Mustang, I'll come over and give you a hand driving it. That's for sure.
Appreciate it. I have a van. I have a van.
Oh, beautiful, dude. All the same, it's got a V8 in it.
No.
Man, that's interesting, dude. Like, because I never really thought about it that way, to be completely honest. I was like, obviously there are going to be different topics that it knows well and doesn't know at all. But I assumed that there would still be a depth of knowledge, like there still would be something. But that's very interesting. You know, you've just saved someone a lot of trouble if they have thought, well, I'll create this niche and I won't hire writers. I'll do this all myself with an AI assisted tool. And it would just be very, very painful.
Let me share something else too. So I made a YouTube video a couple days ago. I don't remember which one it was because I mentioned something in it in passing. But the AI, it's almost like I'm 45. So I think the AI is kind of has like a 45-year-old brain. I'll remember some things, like there's some things I just remember, you know, I can get it like that, you know, but there's other things that somebody has to refresh my memory on. And the AI is kind of like that. And you'll see this more as you work more with the AI, where sometimes we need to give the AI some guidance, and then that will kind of unlock these neurons that in the AI's brain that don't have as strong a connection but are still there. So as an I was when I was on with Damon and we were talking about his AI master tool, that's where I mentioned it. So you like if you went to the AI and you said, AI, what are 5 factors to rank higher on or to get more backlinks? Okay. And the AI will say outreach, it might say paid links, it might give you a couple of other things, but it's not going to say Haro. It's not going to say Haro, help a reporter out. It's not going to say, what are some other ways to get backlinks? It's,
responsive
I'm trying to think
PR, yeah, very similar to Haro, but more unique.
Yeah. No, but it might know about some of these things. It might know enough about Haro to write a couple paragraphs on it. It's probably not going to know how to do a step-by-step guide to tell you how to use it, but it will at least probably know enough to write a paragraph or two. But when you ask the AI, give me 5 ways to get more backlinks, it's not going to mention Haro. It's not going to do that, But then when you tell the AI, hey, by the way, mention Haro, it will kind of unlock that weak connection in its brain and get it to talk about that. So in terms of like a tip for Zimwriter, there's in the bulk writer, there's now there's a CSV upload, so you can actually use manual keywords, but there's always been this automatic keyword option. And maybe I called it the wrong thing, because when people think of keywords, they think of SEO keywords. But I like to think of the automatic keywords as more like having the AI come up with things to unlock those weaker connections in its brain and kind of give it a direction to go and to talk about, So you click the auto keyword button and the AI will come up with a couple different points to talk about that it might not have normally come up with. And then it can then talk about it. So you're making these, you're helping the AI, giving it like a helping hand. Hey, by the way, why don't you talk about this?
Yeah, man, that's actually brilliant. And I guess like that would lead into prompting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all this is exactly what you just mentioned, prompting. If you have the right prompts, everything's going to come together for you. When it comes to Zimmwriter, is there any specific prompting? And I do have some questions pertaining to a couple of friends that obviously have some questions for you when it does come to unique prompting in the future. When it does come to the current prompting in Zim, and we can make that a bit more custom, is there anything someone could do to maximize, like you said, that connectivity of linking something in? Is there any specific way or template or something that someone should use to really get the most out of a prompt in cahoots with Zimmwriter?
The thing I pride Zimwriter on is the flexibility. There other AI tools, they don't have a lot of as much flexibility, in my opinion, as Zimwriter. Zimwriter doesn't do everything, but I built it to be very, very, but that also makes it kind of complicated if you want to go deeper into it. So in terms of specific prompting, there's a couple things you can do, and there's also something big coming on the horizon. So right now, with the latest version, you can now do outline focus, which is you go into the bulk writer and you put in curly brackets and you put in the word outline underscore focus and then an equal sign. And then you kind of give the AI either some keywords or some direction about how you want it to write that outline. And it only applies to the outline. So going back to the backlink example, if you wanted to talk about Haro, you could say, mention help a reporter out, parentheses, Haro, mention paid links, mention reaching out to local businesses or something like that. So you can kind of have the AI write specific headings. Now you can obviously do that in the SEO writer, but it's more slow and methodical. You can give it your entire outline in the SEO writer, but it's slow. Or you can have the AI completely come up with the outline itself. So the middle ground is this outline focus that allows you kind of to give some direction to the AI without spending too much time on that, So that's one particular way that you can help the AI make those connections in its brain and talk about things that it might not normally have. And that's a cool thing too, from the competition standpoint, because the competition, the AI is the AI. GPT-3 is GPT-3. You go to GPT-3, doesn't matter what software you're in. If you say, write me an outline for how to get more backlinks, you're going to get the same stuff, or 90% of the same stuff. So if you're talking about stuff that really matters, Haro and all these other things, in the competitions, the AI from the competition is not, you'll likely rank better. Okay. So that's one way. The other way that you can prompt is through, and this is a very underutilized feature inside of Zimmwriter. There's a style box in Zimmwriter, and all the Penny Arcade, the bulk writer, and the SEO writer, that allows you to either choose auto style or to write in the style of someone. Now, in terms of prompting, before, a while ago, I'll kind of reveal a secret right here. Before, I would say, if you put in like, trying to think of a marketer, or if you were to say like Dr. Seuss or something like that, right in the style of Dr. Seuss, it would actually write the article, and in the article say, I am Dr. Seuss. It would write like Dr. Seuss, but it would actually pretend that it was Dr. Seuss. And no one's going to write like Dr. Seuss, but think of a marketer that the AI might know about, whether it's I'm trying to think of some, I can't think off the top of my head right now.
Maybe like a Neil Patel or something like that. Yeah,
Neil Patel. That's great. Excellent example. The AI's probably read some stuff from his website, so the AI could probably try to replicate some of that. But in doing so, if the prompt is write like Neil Patel, the AI will likely say, I'm Neil Patel, and that's just completely useless for us, because then we have to go and edit that all out, So instead, what Zimmwriter will do is Zimmwriter will take what you wrote, Neil Patel, and then say, okay, how does Neil Patel write? So it will actually, I'll ask the AI, what are 3 characteristics of Neil Patel's writing? I'll say, I'm just making this up right now, but it might say like detail oriented or something like that. It might say methodical. It might say, opinionated or something, and then I'm actually going to prompt the AI to write like that, so, but that's a very underutilized box, because a lot of people are like, write in the style of somebody, I'm not going to really use it, but it's actually a very, very powerful way to prompt the AI that not enough people use. And you don't even have to just put a person in, you can put a characteristic in. You can say, write in the style of a 5th grader or something. And then it would actually prompt the AI. It would ask the AI, how does that write? And it would say like short sentences. It would say like, not big words or something like that, But all of this stuff, you should test it all out on GPT 3.5 Turbo. Use like one subheading. You don't have to choose 5 subheadings and write a whole article, but you can just bust out a lot of different tests very, very inexpensively with Zimmwriter, using these different settings to see what works best for you.
In the part where it says write in this style, as you're saying, all I would need to do is put in Neil Patel in that section there, and then Zimmwriter is automatically going to understand and prompt that in such a way that it's writing in Neil Patel's style.
Well, with an asterisk. And so the asterisk is obviously it has to, the AI can know about somebody, but has the AI read what that person wrote? And those are 2 different questions, the AI is not going to know who, Bob's Plumbing is or something like that. It won't know Bob, and it won't know his writing style. Does the AI know who Neil Patel is? Yeah, likely. But the AI was also trained on Wikipedia. So the AI might just know that from Wikipedia and not know his actual writing. The other thing I've found too is the AI can only do so many things. Like it does what it's been trained to do and what it's read. So like, to give you a specific example, the AI does not like to write short paragraphs. It doesn't like to do that. It likes to write big chunky paragraphs of like 5 different sentences, and the sentences are freaking long. That's just how it writes. That's why we have an option in there called skinny paragraphs. And it's actually, if you look at the Zimmwriter file, we don't just make one prompt to OpenAI. We don't just write this giant prompt and say, okay, write us a 3,000 word article. It's physically impossible for the AI to do that with the quality that Zimmwriter has. Instead, we'll make like 100 calls to OpenAI. And so I layer my prompts in that the skinny paragraph option will get these big, fat, chunky paragraphs. You might say, write like Neil Patel. Neil Patel might write these very short sentences, 1 sentence or 2 sentences per paragraph. But the AI is incapable of doing that. And so what we'll do then is after the AI has written its content, I'll then send all that stuff back to OpenAI. I'll say, now, okay, break it all up into separate, into smaller paragraphs. And that's where we get the skinny paragraphs, So you can only get so much out of the write and the style of, just because you're limited by what the AI is capable of doing. Maybe when we have GPT-6 or something like that, then we'll be able to get some of this more fine tuning out of it. But for right now, there are limitations on what we can do.
Man, that's very interesting. That's very, very interesting, because again, that's not something that I myself had sort of thought about doing, is placing in an individual that may be well known through the AI. Like you said, you would have to use someone like a Neil Patel or even higher. So it's guaranteed that it is picked up. But yeah, that's very interesting. When it comes to the future, how do you think that we're going to be able to differentiate ourselves with ranking on Google with AI content? Because my personal opinion is that the only way going forward Google is going to know if a piece of content is good is it's going to look at you first, whoever is stating that piece of content, so to speak. It's going to look at the website. It's going to be like, well, this is Osborne Digital Marketing. This is Ronald's website. Okay, I trust Ronald. He's got the YouTube channel and all of that. So, and in all honesty, it is a lot easier for me to create a piece of content, whether it be AI or human created, and it to get indexed quickly, to rank quickly. How do you see someone competing against that, specifically with AI? How do you think individuals can really stay competitive where everything now on the internet is essentially AI?
So, and that's a really good question. And I think that's probably a worry in the back of a lot of people's minds, at least a worry in people that have been here for a little bit. It Again, it totally depends on what you're trying to do. If you're the type of individual that wants to create 100 different blogs and fill it full of 1,000 posts each, I don't have an answer for you right now. That's going to require a lot of testing on your part to kind of see if you can break this, break Google and figure out what works right now. Now, it might not work in the future. They might put an update out and that's gonna break it. But if that's not you, if you're not trying to create 100 websites and 1,000 posts on each website, and you're trying to, again, have one or two websites, then I think you have a much better shot of creating some lasting, permanent success, even with using AI. But again, it depends on what your niche is. I think, I'll give you like one or two examples. So there's this, one of my sites, I have a bunch of different AI, or not AI sites, but affiliate marketing sites. And I haven't touched them in a long time because I just don't have any time anymore. But one of them is like in this tool hardware niche, and haven't touched the site in like 2 years. But I was looking to do a new article about 6 months ago. And I stumbled on this new affiliate site by some random person. And they were trying to get into the space of tool reviews and whatnot. And a lot of us, whether you're doing tool reviews or anything, whatever you do on Amazon, you'll likely have your products, your roundup, your little review that doesn't really add anything to it, a photo of the product that you got from Amazon, a buy now link, and then maybe a buying guide or something like that. This guy, what he did was, and this was ingenious in my opinion. It's not realistic when you're just starting out to go and buy like 10 different cordless drills. That's $2,000 easy.
Yeah.
Or to go buy 5 different lawnmowers. That's like 10 grand. Who can afford that? This guy went out and he bought like 10 different tape measures. And he took, tape measures are $5 each. He took great photos of them, took all the I don't know what you do. I think it's called a tang or something. You take it out, you lock it. He did all that comparison shot, top down, of all the different tape measures, so you could actually see them. He really went methodically through them, and then he did an individual review of each one. And guess what? Ranked number one, easy, no competition, so easy. There was other people that were reviewing tape measures, but nothing like that. That was awesome. If you start doing enough of those reviews with cheap products, but that are valuable, that do have search volume, you can build up that authority. If he does that for like, 6 different products that are, maybe he does tape measures, then he does squares, those little square things that you can buy. Maybe
Yep.
he does carpentry pencils, really, really cheap things. He builds up that authority. Now, maybe he gets some backlinks, or maybe he pays for some backlinks. But by having that genuine, real content, and it can be AI written, that's perfectly fine. But he's adding his own spin to it. He has his own photos. He really bought this stuff. He really did a really thorough investigation and you can't find this. I mean, he took the little, I don't know, whatever it was, and he's like scraping it against a rock to see if the markings wear off,
Yeah.
And he doesn't even have any YouTube videos, If you do that, you'll rank, and you'll build that topical authority. Now, you might not be in the carpentry or the hardware niche, you might be in the dog niche. That's great. Go buy 10 different leashes for $10 each and actually review that stuff. Now, that's all affiliate marketing stuff. Maybe you just want to do like real marketing, not non-affiliate marketing stuff. Well, you got to build your brand then. Just like you and like me, we got to get on YouTube. It doesn't have to be every single social media platform, but pick one, do really well at that, and funnel people back. Like me, I don't have any blog posts about AI. There's no blog posts about, it's all about using Zimmwriter, but I'm ranking high. Google's testing my site for a lot of different AI keywords, and I'm only on YouTube, So dominate one particular area and don't go after the big stuff. Go after the small wins first, and that will build up your topical authority, regardless of whether you're using AI or not. And that, I think, will prevent you from getting hammered by these Google updates.
I thought you were about to say buy.
That was a lot. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Thought you were about to say buy 10 dogs, and I was like, "Whoo!"
No. They're expensive.
Too chaotic indeed. Geez, I'd love it though. I'm not going to lie. 10 different breeds of German Shepherds will do me well. But man, like that's actually, yeah. So we're thinking very much alike when it comes to protecting ourselves brand wise. It's more so building an actual brand that's going to keep us in a good relationship, in good standing with Google. So I think that's where everyone needs to be focusing. That's why I push everyone I work with in every business I'm in partnership with. I'm like, we are going out there and getting Haro, responsive PR, whatever you want to call it, type links, because I think that's the only way going forward Google is going to be able to differentiate you against a competitor. And then it won't care, because like I say to everyone, at the end of the day, if you've written AI content, but Google knows you, it's going to trust that content more than if Joe Blogs just throws it up. So I do think that's very valuable to build a brand. But yeah, you're on point. Like when it comes to, as an example, your tape measure example, how would I use Zim to create and support that type of article, that tape measure article?
So, and that's a great question. So this goes back to what I said earlier. Every piece that you create doesn't have to be that slam dunk, amazing article that you've spent 20 hours doing slow and methodically. You only need some of those in each of your different silos or something like that. That will support, that's what they call it, a supporting piece. That will support the rest of the articles. Not all, maybe not all of them. It depends on how many you have. That might not support 1,000 articles unless you really are getting some crazy backlinks, but that can still carry the burden of those other articles. So as an example, tape measure, 10 best tape measures for woodworkers. Okay. Now how to buy a tape measure, maybe that's your support. I don't know. You have your supporting article, but then you have like some AI content off of that. And that could be AI content based on, people also ask questions or just questions that maybe people don't ask, but are still using those juicy words that Google knows either are used in the industry or somebody wanting a tape measure would use. And so and this doesn't have to be a long article either. So it could be like, is it important to have a pencil sharpener in your tape measure? Or what are the pros and cons of having a pencil sharpener in your tape measure? That's, I could list those. I have a tape measure with a pencil sharpener. It's freaking awesome. So you can have the AI quickly come up with something that just does the trick right there. And it might not even rank for anything, but you're building that topical authority. And Google won't care with as long as you don't have like 1,000 articles like that off of that one supporting piece. But if you create that one supporting piece, yeah, create 25 AI articles that make logical sense, aren't full of fake facts, but answer questions or something like that that people would have.
Yeah, that's brilliant, mate. Because I think if people do take that unique approach where they're going to build one awesome article, I think you will need to support it with something. So I think trying to use Zimwriter in with your possibly custom, completely human edited piece of main content, but then use Zim to help bolster that with internal links. That's brilliant. Push up the entities. That is the way I would suggest someone go about it. When it comes
And
to, sorry, mate. Go ahead.
What I was going to say, what I've done on my sites, and this seems to work really well. A lot of people are like, I don't like info content because I'm not selling anything, and that's such a misconception. At the end of your info content, be like, okay, I just explained to you how whether a tape measure needs a pencil sharpener. Great. Here's the end of the content. Top 3 tape measures, and they link in, and it lists them, and it links back to your supporting article. So you can actually have some commercial elements on that page without it turning into quote unquote a commercial article.
I agree. There's some guys that think a little bit differently to me. But I completely agree that by having informational article, you'll drive people into the end conversion. Because at the end of the day, not everyone, like they go on with sales funnels, not everyone is aware of what exactly they need just yet. Hence why they've found that piece of content. It's informational. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to help someone. And if you help them well enough, well, they'll probably stick with you. That's how people work. People will purchase from people that they trust. It's just that simple. But man, that's excellent. I guess we could jump into the final stage, brother. I've got a list of Zimwriter questions here that I've gathered from a lot of the guys in the group, and they've put a lot of questions here. So let me know what you think about these. I'll try and structure them as best I can. And we'll try and get some answers, because I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there that would also have similar questions. First thing would be an API for Zimwriter. Is that going to be coming along where we could then try and plug that into other tools and vice versa? So as an example, I'm an avid fan of Pop. I use Pop all the time. Can I try and get an API from Pop to then plug into Zimwriter when, finally Kyle releases something?
So an API works great with SaaS software, but when you have desktop software, I don't know how far back you go, but back in the day, you'd have to you want to play video games or something, and they'd have to connect to you over LAN, but they're remote. You'd have to unlock your ports and stuff. So it's really hard to get remote tools to talk to reach out to desktop software. It's much easier for the desktop software to first make the connection to that external tool. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I haven't really researched it, and that's more of a feature for what we talked about at the beginning, the Zimmwriter 2.0.
Yep. Okay, so that's a Zimwriter 2.0 question. Yep. All right, beautiful, man. Custom prompts. Now, we have touched on the custom prompts, but I have a couple of mates that do work for very, very big companies, so nationwide, international companies. And they have different people within the organization, and they predominantly use Zimwriter to create the supporting type content. But they would love it if it was possible for there to be a feature where we can add our own custom. So let's just say it's like Ronald Osborne. Ronald Osborne writes like this. This is how Ronald Osborne writes. But then if it was someone else in my organization, I could then easily change out who the individual is creating the article. So it's all sort of saved in Zim. Is that possibly something that could be added?
Just so I understand correctly, this is like the question, like the Neil Patel type question, right?
Neil Patel type question, and even for different organizations. So if I was to expand on that, let's just say you're a local SEO agency. Like I said, I business partner with 9 companies. So for myself, I have 9 different organizations that I would want different people talking about and different organizations. So is it possible where we would have one that's the roofing company, the pressure washing company, we can have the CEOs, all of their information stored in there. So when I was to create an article, I could be like, just simply go, use J for the pressure washing. So just click on that, and then all of Jay's information's all automatically in there, instead of me having to copy and paste all of that information in every time I want to write a different set of articles.
That's a deeper question. So
There's a lot, man.
well, I mean, I understand the question. It's just a deeper question. So like right now, you can in the advanced and let me clarify, are we talking about magic commands, or are we talking about blog writing?
What, probably blog writing to produce blog content, so we can add that EEAT type of scenario in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so probably more so along those lines.
Okay, because there's an advanced trigger section in the magic commands that allows you to put background information in. And so I've had videos on people putting like their business information on there. You can queue up to 5 different, or save up to 5 different profiles, so to speak. And then, you kind of do what you're talking about that way, but that's just for magic commands. So the reason your question is a little bit deeper is because the AI, we talked a little bit about Neil Patel. There's certain things that the AI will do and won't do, and you don't really figure that out until you investigate. I think no one's cracked yet giving the AI a piece of content and saying, write like this. I mean, I can go to ChatGPT and paste in a blog post and say, write like this, but it's not going to be correct. It might look okay, but it's not replicatable, and it's not really that's not the best way to do it. I think there's room or a possibility to build a feature where you can analyze content, and you'd have to break the content down like grammatically. What tone of voice is it in? Is it using short paragraphs or not? How long are the sentences? What else is in there? Like what is it? How does it start the first word of each sentence? There's a lot in there to kind of break apart and examine, and then based on all that criteria, then you start crafting the content that way. I don't think anyone's cracked that nut yet. I haven't really had time to investigate that. That's somewhere I want to go. If that's a 2.0 thing or not, I'm not quite sure. But then you also have the other part of the puzzle, where you have the knowledge base of what you're writing about. So, if okay, today I want to write like this particular company or this particular whatever, you're going to have knowledge about who that person is or who that entity is. And that's kind of where we need like a vector database. And that's more of a Zimmwriter 2.0 thing, because you need to pull this stuff out, this knowledge out about whether it's a writing sample or whether it's about history of the company or something like that. So that's somewhere I want to go, but we're not there yet.
Awesome, brother.
If you want to do it right, I don't want to do stuff half-assed, I
Yep.
do stuff right.
Yeah, man, do it right. Yeah, I agree completely, brother. That's why I use Zim. Is there any way to try and remove a bit of fluff where AI tools can carry on? Is there any way of trying to reduce that down in Zim if it does produce a bit of fluff?
One man's fluff is another man's words,
Yes.
So trying to someone said to me, there's too much fluff in here. I'm like, what are you talking about? He showed me I'm like, where's the fluff? I don't see the fluff. He's like, well, it used the keyword more than once. Well, you're like, we're talking about how to wash a dog. It used the word dog twice. Well, of course it's going to use the word dog twice. It's talking about how to wash a dog. So everybody has their own opinion on what fluff is. So me coming up with the solution that fits everybody is a completely impossible. What I am working on, and I'll tell you this, I don't think I've publicly told anybody this. I'd like to have custom prompts, like an overhaul of the custom prompts. Have you used the custom prompt feature in Zimmwriter?
No, to be honest, man, I stick very much with the SEO article. I'm the type of guy, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're getting good results with it, man. Yeah. It ain't broke.
So it's an option in the SEO writer, it's an option in the bulk writer, it's an option in the Penny Arcade. You can put in a custom prompt and then apply it to whatever sections you choose. but it's one prompt on whatever sections you choose. So you can't have like a separate prompt on the intro, a second prompt on the conclusion, a second prompt on the main subsections. I'm developing a way that we can then have different prompts go to different sections. And so right now, maybe you have a single prompt that you can apply to everything, in the SEO writer or whatever these writers are. There's a custom prompt section, and maybe you come up with a prompt that can apply to all those sections without hurting the content, but just kind of unfluff it in your mind, whatever that would mean. So there's a way to do that now, but there's an even better way coming soon.
Okay, awesome. Because yeah, that was something that the guys, a couple of blokes did ask me about, if it was just maybe making it more direct and to the point, if we could try and tie that down. But that's excellent. Auto uploading. I know you've released a couple of times over the last couple of weeks that's what you're getting towards. That was something that the guys asked me about, was the auto uploading feature. That's is that coming out this weekend?
It's already out, man.
Yeah, it's already out. Okay. All right.
They're behind the times.
They're behind the times. Yeah.
You can watch my 2 videos. I go through. You can do it in any of the tools now, the Penny Arcade, Bulk, or SEO. I do an example of the Penny Arcade where I'll actually, and so it works a couple different ways right now. I'll explain this really quickly. Penny Arcade, it works with in any of the tools, you can automatically upload the entire article to WordPress. If you want to get images, that's also possible too. We have Pexel's API integration, 25,000 images a month completely for free. So there's no cost. Sometimes that's hit or miss, But then if you use Scraping Surgeon, which, like, for example, and that's one of the new features, Scraping Surgeon allows you to surgically identify particular content on a page based on HTML or CSS tags that you want scraped. You can also identify an image on the page. And so for Amazon, if you're okay with just taking the image, because most of the images on Amazon are manufacturer images anyways, Scraping Surgeon will actually download the image from Amazon, resize it to a portrait 16:9 ratio, essentially, and then upload that as the featured image to your WordPress website, So there's lots of ways now to get that on there. You can get a call to action automatically created on there, and then the whole thing is just automatically uploaded to WordPress.
Awesome, brother. And then expanding on that is images throughout the content. So the question did come up, like being able to, like you said, you surgically in place certain types of images that are relevant for sections. Is something like that coming along too?
Yes and no. I have a video I just released about how if you're doing an Amazon roundup in the SEO writer or any kind of a write-up that uses Scraping Surgeon. Scraping Surgeon allows you to put in whatever website domain you want, but it would be most practically used on a website, number one, that has products that you can quote unquote take the images from, but then also websites that you would scrape a lot. So Amazon or Best Buy or Home Depot, I don't know what sites are over where you are, but a site that you'd scrape a lot. And if so, you can identify using the CSS or the HTML where the image is located. And then when you put those URLs inside of the SEO writer, so like a roundup of 6 tape measures on Amazon, it will pull all of those images for each of those subsections. So you'll have a nice little product image for that subsection. So you can get a nice little roundup, and then you'll have a featured image from Pexels at the top. Now, in terms of like non-scraped images, just for a normal image for an H2, for instance, how to factors to consider when buying a tape measure, or if should you get a tape measure with a pencil sharpener. Maybe one of the questions is what kind of pencil do you carry, or something like that. If that's your H2, you might not get a good result from Pexels. So I don't think Pexels is necessarily the way to go for images within that content. I think that's more of a Mid-Journey type of thing. But Mid-Journey doesn't have an API. There are Mid-Journey automation tools right now, but I don't want to integrate those because your account can get banned if you start using those. And I paid like a couple $100 for the year for my Stealth Mid-Journey account. I would not personally want to lose my account. And so I know that nobody else would want to lose theirs. So we're not doing third-party Mid-Journey automation. So until they have that we're not going to have inline images that are not from Scraping Surgeon from Amazon or something.
There was the question on possibly adding so in the SEO article writer, as an example, you've got the box where we can place in the keywords. Is it possible to add another box for entities specifically, just so entities are never left out? I wonder if that would be something, because that's a question for myself and a couple of other guys.
Right now for the keywords, I kind of create my sections and I'm like, okay, here's all the keywords, pick 6 to put into this subsection. I guess it would come down to how am I going to integrate those entities? In one respect, I would, if the entities are most important to you, I would put them in that keyword list. You could also possibly, if you're using the SEO writer, put those entities in the background section too. I wouldn't necessarily say like use these entities, but you could probably do a comma separated list of the entities that you want for a subsection. And it's not guaranteed that you'd get them, but I think you'd have a good shot. But other than that, I'd have to rethink how I would write a subsection, almost like a custom prompt, like include these entities in this subsection. So but that would work on a subsection level. I don't know how that would work like just globally. Like if you globally give me 100 entities, then I'd have to have the AI figure out what entities go with what subsection,
Yeah.
So that's an interesting question. Haven't heard it before. I'm open to exploring it, but I don't have that as a feature on the roadmap yet.
Yep. Okay, beautiful. Another thing that I would really, really love for you to introduce is, let's say I create my SEO article. I would love it if we could have a box that we could drop in URLs that we would want internally linked. And then that way, when I produce the article and I automatically upload it to WordPress, internal links are already there, brother. Is that something that we can have done?
One of those. So I got 3 groups of people. I got the H4 people, and I got the Mac people, and I got the internal link people. So you're one of the internal link people.
I'm one of those guys, man.
I mean, the way you propose it is better than other solutions, but it would only work in the SEO because you have to provide some kind of a link, or I'd have to go and scrape your site because not everybody's on WordPress. So you can't just it would require a lot of technical work. What you're asking is a little bit easier, but then again, it's only useful for the SEO writer. I'd like to find a solution that works kind of universally a little bit. That's something I could see, so the internal, to answer your question, the internal link, I don't think I'd want to do something specific just for the SEO writer. The internal linking is something that's come up a lot. I don't know why people just don't use Link Whisper or something like that. That just, it seems to do the trick pretty well. But if I keep getting a lot of people asking for an internal link solution, maybe I'll revisit it before Zimmwriter 2.0 and see if we can do something with it.
Yeah, man. I think, to be honest, myself, I don't use Link Whisperer. It's, from all accounts, I've heard it's a great tool. It's just I had some problems with it with Oxygen. So I actually removed it off the accounts that I had with Oxygen, because I'm an avid fan of Oxygen with WordPress. So I had some problems with it. And I just prefer having it, essentially raw dog, mate. Just, it's there in the HTML, simplified. So yeah, if it was something that could be created with Zimmwriter when it comes to that auto posting, because I think that's brilliant, man, that would be sweet. That it just would cut out that extra work, because before I even create an article, I know exactly where it's going to be linked to and what's going to link into it. So being able to add that would be fantastic. That's just a part of my SOPs. So having that feature would be something that's very, very handy. And I guess like the only other problem would be too, is like the anchor text, how you would overcome like the selection of anchor text, because I don't ever just go 1 or 2 words when it comes to anchor text. I'll do almost half a sentence. So I can pull in entities, I can pull in different words, make it look more natural. So, being able to add in a solid anchor text as well with a specific internal link would really be swell. But like you said, it's going to be something that
I'd want to do it I'd want to do it well and right. You know, I wouldn't want to just make something that wasn't really good, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah, makes sense, man. Honestly, Matt, that's been fantastic, brother. Where can people find you? Where can people access Zimwriter, the tool? How can they get in contact with you, mate?
Zimwriter.com or rankingtactics.com both go to the same place. You can learn more about Zimwriter there. You can also go to my YouTube channel, Ranking Tactics, and I got tons of videos there, or join the Facebook group for Zimwriter. There's almost 11,000 people in there. Great group of people. Even if you don't buy Zimwriter, a great place to hang out as long as you're not going to spam the channel.
That's been excellent, guys. All the links that Matt just mentioned will be down below, so don't worry about that. Everything's going to be pasted down below. Matty, thank you for your time, mate.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries, brother.